The odds of a marriage in America ending in divorce are somewhere between 40 and 60%. It's a sad and disturbing statistic, but those numbers are based off of many different factors. Age, education, economics, moral dilemmas, all these things all play a role into figuring out whether your marriage has a likelihood of surviving in the long run. And the way the trends are going, it appears more and more people are choosing just to completely opt out of marriage altogether. But like I said, there are many factors involved, most notably economic factors. And I mean, to some degree, I get it. I understand weddings are a money trap. It's so expensive. I mean, the venue, catering, music, finding that perfect dress, like these costs all start to add up very quickly. In fact, the average wedding in America costs $30,000. I mean, for the price of an average American wedding, $30,000, you can go out there and buy yourself at least 2 or 3 months worth of groceries. So it's a big ask to have people commit to such a large payment for just one special day. Not to mention all these stress and anxiety and just the overall exhaustion of being in a wedding and getting married. But let's say you're in the minority. Let's say you took that plunge. Let's say you navigated that minefield of love and you pulled off the perfect day and now you are married. So I got to ask you, what exactly would it take for you to get a divorce, to completely start over, to detach yourself from your so-called soulmate, to disrupt your entire life and go back at life all over again? What would it take? And the reason I ask is because today we're going to take a look at some of the people that, at least in part, have decided to end their marriage because of Taylor Swift. And you know what? I'm going to get to the punchline right now because I don't think these people were wrong for ending their marriage.
I'm divorcing my husband because he booed Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl, and I still don't think he believes me, to be honest, but he might want to start, because I just filed my paperwork at the courthouse, and you can see right here, the date of separation is this year's Super Bowl.
This is Louisa, a 28-year-old TikToker and Instagrammer person, and her claim is her husband knew how passionate she was about Taylor, and his actions were disrespectful. And look, man, I get it. It's easy to punch down with Taylor Swift. People have been doing it for her entire career. And now that she's attending these NFL games because she's dating one of the players, some of the conversation has steered towards her being in attendance.
I'm not just doing this because of the action of booing. I am doing this because of everything that it represents in our relationship. I have loved Taylor Allison Swift since I was 12 years old. My husband even likes her too. Like, he'll put on her music when we're cooking together. He has a favorite song. It's Girl at Home. But we were at the Super Bowl. It was me, him, and 5 of his buddies. And when they put Taylor up on the Jumbotron, all of his buddies started booing. And my husband joined in.
Now, this sort of thing is not uncommon, not necessarily in the vein of Taylor Swift, but in the vein of partners just belittling each other's passions. And here's the thing, man, it is more dangerous than people think. Because I don't know about you, but for me, the older I get, the less passionate I am about everything. Maybe it's just the obligations or trying to survive, putting this dull, throbbing numbing on life. But either way, at least for me, finding something to be truly passionate about is a rarity. Because if we as partners are belittling each other's passions, each other's joy, we are aiding to that numb that encompasses everything. And in turn, we lose value in each other's eyes. I mean, in life, you are constantly being pulled apart and pulled down by everything all the time, the onslaught of everything all of the time. Having your trusted person, your safe space, your one true soulmate, belittle the thing that brings you that joy, that passion, that little glimmer of hope, it's devastating. And I mean, it's easy to be dismissive, and I think most of us even do it accidentally. I mean, I'll share things from my perspective. I once dated a girl that would belittle me playing video games. She said, "What are you doing? You're a full-grown man. Why are you wasting your time playing these games? You know, you should be doing something more productive." And it was a whole argument, but she couldn't see things from my perspective, that playing these games was a release of stress for me. It was almost meditative to a sense. But she couldn't get that. And slowly over time with this girl, I questioned my passion. I wouldn't play as much, or if at all. I was embarrassed to play if she was anywhere near me. And I didn't realize how much of an impact this had on me until years later. But just as with my passion, others dismiss fans of Taylor Swift. They dismiss her because they don't know her any more than you would know somebody than at a surface level. And to some degree, I kind of get it. I mean, taking on Taylor Swift is no easy task. It's taken me the better part over a year to grasp her entire body of work, to understand who fundamentally she is, what sort of messages she's been teaching. And honestly, a lot of it just continues to go over my head. And the only reason I even grasp it is because so many people have shared their stories and their interpretations as to how it's applied to their life and what it means in the greater picture of it all. But a lot of it flies over my head. I'm just lucky a lot of cool people share their stories with me. So it's not something you can really just do by just spending an evening on Spotify and listening to her music. But what maybe you're not realizing, and what I was not realizing, is these songs are a journey of self-discovery. And just like my passion being dismissed of love for video games and the joy that it brought me, people are constantly dismissing Taylor Swift and the impact that she has on her fans. I mean, through expressive storytelling and emotional clarity, every song is a lesson on self-help, positive mental states, finding yourself in places you don't want to be and how to get out of them, being okay with yourself. These aren't at surface level emotions. These are deep-seated fundamental truths of themselves. So when you belittle a passion like that or disrespect it in any kind of way, you are belittling them. You are disrespecting them at a very fundamental level.
So I'm divorcing him. Thankfully, I have a prenup. I'll be retaining all of my assets as well as the assets that I inherited. With peace and love, he probably will not be returning to the Super Bowl anytime soon. So that's one less booer for you, Taylor. I love you.
Now, as to be expected, there are floods of comments coming in from people saying that he dodged a bullet, that his boys will help him out, that he needs to get out of this relationship. She's way over the top. She's unhinged. Like, you need to get out anyway, and this was a blessing in disguise. And look, without understanding any of the backstory of this or what happened after this or any conversations they may have had, I do feel like this is a bit extreme if it's just jumping right to divorce to it just happening. I definitely feel like some deeper conversations need to happen. But we don't know the whole story. Chances are she's probably expressed this to him multiple times in the past and it's probably just gone over his head completely. But it's also worth noting that this video also has some criticism, not necessarily from people saying that he dodged a bullet, but by saying that it's probably staged. It might just be something to drum up attention, to get some kind of views or something, and that's never out of the realm of possibilities. But even if this is staged, that doesn't mean that there hasn't been situations in the past where Taylor has helped people escape toxic relationships. I know this to be true from people personally sharing their own stories with me, and also there are some other stories floating around on the internet. Like this 32-year-old from Buckeye, Arizona, I'm going to leave her name out, told the New York Post in December Taylor Swift contributed to her divorce and her ex-husband physically and emotionally abusing her. And Swift's music like You're Losing Me gave her the strength to leave in January of 2024. And look, man, any sort of abuse cannot be tolerated at all. It needs to be addressed immediately. It needs to be taken care of. You cannot let this sort of thing slide. Unfortunately, I think too many of us just quietly deal with abuse in one way, shape, or form. But there is a silver lining to all of this, that she did get out of this relationship. She is now divorced and not with this person at all. And just recently, she experienced the Eras Tour in London. Or how about this one? A 41-year-old writer from Tucson, Arizona said her 9-year-old marriage ended in 2021, partially due to her Swift fandom. Her musician ex-husband criticized Swift's talent, sparking blow-up arguments. All right, no pun intended, but this is something I know all too well. It's aggravating. I have experienced it several times. You show a song that means so much to you, something you think is absolutely brilliant, to one of your musician friends, and I've done this probably dozens of times at this point, and they completely write it off. And I think at least partly it comes down to ego as musicians, because, well, they'll recognize her success. They will not recognize any of the talent or artistic value in any of it. And it's maddening to do, because I'm like, you understand the fundamentals of music. You understand the theory. You understand all this stuff. Like, it's the evidence is right in front of your face. And still they refuse to admit themselves that there is any sort of artistic chemistry happening within the track. Instead, I met with the same regurgitated talking points that you see online all the time. And it's maddening to see, especially from someone that's a so-called musician that understands music. So anyway, she has leaned on songs like Tolerated as her marriage crumbled, filing for divorce after realizing it was unhealthy. She has since seen Swift in concert multiple times. Man, Tolerated was a heavy pill for me to swallow. But that song may have saved my marriage. Experiencing Tolerated for the first time, it was like a collage of everything I was doing just playing in my head. I could see all the things I was doing that I was not proud of. I could just see myself slowly distancing myself from my wife. It all came to fruition at once. And the scary part about all of that is I didn't even realize what I was doing. I didn't realize I was treating my wife as this fixture. And if I had never heard this song, how long would I have gone on doing what I was doing? And the sad part is, it's not something that my wife would often voice to me. It was this quiet resignation she just kept with herself, but I could see it. I mean, who knows if my actions would have eventually led to the demise of our marriage, or if it would have just slowly continued to kill my wife. But what I do know is Tolerate It has made me a better husband and partner for her. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's not all bubblegum. It's not always an easy pill to swallow. Sometimes it gets real self-reflective and you got to do some real soul searching. But if you are dating or you are married to a Swiftie, first off, congratulations. You've hit the jackpot. You really have. Because these are people that are emotionally intelligent and these are people that truly celebrate what love is. But you got to do the work to understand them. You got to let your guard down. You got to really truly go in with an open heart. You have to go in unguarded. You have to go in willing to be hurt because you're going to be. It's a goddamn roller coaster of emotions, and you got to be ready because Swifties aren't this unhinged mob that people think they are. These people are masters of self-reflection because the words they've lived by aren't just these rhythmically pleasing melodic statements. They are truly poetic staples in themselves. These are the lessons of life that they've embraced. And the crazy thing is it doesn't ever feel like it's coming from a teacher. There's no teacher-student relationship. It's a peer-on-peer relationship here. There is the artist and the fans, but the experiences are one of the same. And it's lessons like it's okay to feel broken. Anxiety can be your teacher, and even hope can exist in the darkness. And here's the thing, man. I've been doing this for a while now. I've encountered a lot of different fandoms. I've experienced a lot. And in every fandom, in every group of these fans, there's always a select couple few that just take things a little too far. You know, the ones that you can't give any kind of criticism to whatsoever. You can't say even a slightly negative thing or they lose their shit on you. But in my experience, most Swifties, they've got pretty thick skin because they're used to it. They're used to Taylor having a target on her back this entire time. They're used to people punching down. But that doesn't mean they're pushovers either. It just means that they choose their battles more wisely. Through years of experience, they have a keen eye for emotional manipulation, how to avoid toxic relationship, and once you're in one, and something is unsalvageable, how to correctly get out of that situation. And in my experience, as someone who's truly studied Taylor Swift at this point, it all comes down to a practice of viewing vulnerability as strength. And for the longest time, I thought these lyrics were just a mirror, her talking back to herself, but they've actually been a map the entire time. And her evolution through all of this is proof that this is all of us trying.